Manhattan glittered outside the glass walls of Aurelia, a rooftop restaurant that sold romance by the candle and power by the view. Evelyn Cole sat at the window table with her hands folded in her lap, trying to stop them from shaking. The skyline looked like a crown of steel and light, and she had chosen this place because Keller Thorne loved New York the way other men loved music. In front of her waited a small champagne-colored cake, built from Evelyn's own sketch, a clean modern tear with an abstract constellation in sugar. She had spent nights testing recipes with Lena, laughing at her own perfectionism. She had also spent 3 months designing a private office concept for Keller, a gift that hid a second gift inside it. A promise, a future. At 8 sharp, the elevator doors opened and Keller stepped out. He wore a black suit that fit him like an opinion. Tall, sharp, confident, he moved through the room as if the air owed him space. People noticed him, always. Tonight they noticed the storm on his face too. Evelyn stood, her smile bright with relief. Keller, you made it. He did not hug her. He did not kiss her cheek. He did not look at the cake, the flowers, or the wrapped portfolio beside her plate. He stopped at the chair and stayed standing, eyes dark and cold. Evelyn's smile faltered. Is everything okay? Keller opened his briefcase and took out a stack of photographs and papers. He dropped them on the table like a verdict. Evelyn, he said, his voice low and flat. You make me sick. The words hit like a slap. Around them, the room kept moving. Wine glasses clinked. A server walked past with oysters. Evelyn stared down at the photographs. They showed her in a coffee shop, sitting across from Justin Petrov. In one shot he leaned toward her, his hand stretched as if he were touching her wrist. In another, she looked up at him, her expression caught mid-sentence. The angle was cruel. The timing was perfect. Beneath the photos lay documents, with a bold header, and a signature that looked like hers. Evelyn's throat closed. What is this? Do not play innocent. Keller tapped the top page with one finger. A confidentiality breach. An agreement. Your signature. Your dates. Your meetings. Your price. Evelyn grabbed the pages, eyes scanning, heart pounding harder with every line. The signature was close enough to fool the world, but it was not her pen pressure. Not her curves. Not her hand. Keller, this is fake. She whispered. I did not sign this. I did not leak anything. I did not betray you. Keller's mouth twisted. Fake. Evelyn pushed the photos back at him. That day with Justin, I ran into him by accident. He said he wanted to discuss a design project. I did not know he was setting me up. I did not know he would take photos. Please, listen to me. Keller leaned closer, his eyes like ice. Justin already admitted it. He said you approached him, that you offered my investment plan in exchange for his contract. He said you wanted to be his mistress. How does it feel, Evelyn, selling yourself while wearing my ring? The restaurant blurred. Evelyn felt heat rise into her cheeks, shame and panic twisted together. I never said that. I never did that. Keller, you know me. I know what I see. Keller straightened. His voice rose enough to draw attention. Heads turned. Conversations thinned. Evelyn swallowed hard. The signature is forged. Look closely. My handwriting does not do that on the R. You have seen me sign 1,000 times. Keller laughed once, sharp and without humor. You think I care about the curve of your R? She flinched. Keller reached across the table and took her hand, not gently, not lovingly. He twisted her fingers until she had to loosen her grip on the papers. Then he pulled the engagement ring off her hand. Evelyn gasped, more from the symbolism than the pressure. Keller, stop. He held the ring between thumb and forefinger. It had been custom, a clean diamond set in a minimal band. He had placed it on her finger 1 year ago, with tears in his eyes, telling her she was his home. Now he squeezed it. Metal bent with a tiny, brutal sound. Evelyn froze. Someone at the next table inhaled. Keller dropped the ruined ring onto the floor and pressed it under his shoe. He ground it once, slowly, as if making a point that could not be misunderstood. This is what your love is worth, he said. Cheap, hollow, ugly. Evelyn's vision swam. She could hear her own breathing, short and ragged. She tried to stand taller, tried to keep her voice steady, but it came out broken. In your heart, she said. Am I really that kind of woman? Keller looked at her as if she were a stranger in a stranger's coat. You were always a project, he said. A talented little thing I picked up because you were obedient. I was bored. You were useful. That is all. The knife went in deeper. Evelyn felt the room watching. She felt whispers forming. She felt her dignity slipping out of her hands like water. Keller, she said, tears finally spilling. We were together for 3 years. We built a life. How can you do this to me? Life. Keller sneered. You built a plan. I built a mistake. He turned, coat swinging, and walked away. Evelyn stood there for a second with her hands empty, her chest full of smoke. Then her knees gave out and she dropped into the chair, shaking. The skyline outside kept shining. The city did not care. A minute later Lena Rodriguez arrived, breathless, rain on her coat from the street below. She had been late because she had been fighting a client on the phone. She saw Evelyn's face and stopped short. What happened? Evelyn could not speak. She reached down with numb fingers and picked up the crushed ring from the floor. The diamond was scuffed. The band was bent. It felt heavier than it should. Lena sat beside her and pulled her into a fierce hug. Do not you dare blame yourself. She whispered. Do you hear me? He is wrong. He is a damn fool. Evelyn stared out at the lights. Her heart felt like it had been ripped out and left on the table. Somewhere in the building, the elevator doors opened and closed again, carrying Keller back down into his world. Evelyn tightened her fist around the ruined ring until the metal bit into her palm. It did not hurt. Nothing hurt compared to the way he had looked at her, like she was nothing at all. The morning after the dinner, Evelyn woke with salt on her lips and a bruise-colored ache behind her eyes. She lay on her couch in her apartment, still wearing yesterday's makeup, still smelling like smoke from a candle she had not lit. Lena sat on the floor beside the coffee table with 2 mugs and a fierce expression. Drink, she ordered. Then we make a plan. Evelyn held the mug with both hands. The heat did not reach her. She had tried to call Keller 3 times before midnight. All 3 calls went to voicemail. At 1 in the morning she sent a message, simple, calm, desperate. Please, let me explain. By sunrise, the message showed 1 gray check and then disappeared. Blocked. Evelyn sat up, grabbed her phone, and tried again. The call failed immediately. She was locked out of his world with a single tap. I will go to his office, she said, voice hoarse. He has to listen to me in person. Lena's jaw tightened. I will go with you. At Thorn Capital, the lobby smelled like polished stone and money. The reception desk was a wall of glass. A security guard stepped forward the moment Evelyn approached, as if he had been told her name before she even spoke. I am here to see Keller Thorne, Evelyn said. We have an appointment. The guard did not glance at the schedule. He did not ask her to wait. Mr. Thorne says he will never see you. He replied, eyes steady. Please leave. Evelyn's stomach dropped. He cannot do that. This is a mistake. Someone forged my signature. Someone set me up. The guard looked uncomfortable, but his tone stayed firm. Ma'am, please. Lena stepped forward, anger flashing. Are you kidding me? He cannot even face her. The guard's shoulders rose in a helpless shrug. Take it up with his legal team. Evelyn left the building feeling smaller than she had when she walked in. Outside, midtown traffic roared. People hurried past her, eyes on their own lives, and she realized how easy it was to become invisible in this city. It got worse. By the end of the week, rumors moved through the finance world like a virus. A blog posted anonymous screenshots. A competitor laughed too loudly at a charity event. A client canceled a contract with Evelyn's studio, citing reputational concerns. Another client demanded she return a deposit. A third asked if she had really been selling access. Evelyn watched her business unravel in slow motion. One afternoon she walked into her office and found the landlord waiting with a folded notice. I am sorry, he said. I cannot take this risk. The building board is upset. You understand. Evelyn nodded even though she did not understand. Not really. She had done nothing. Yet she was the one being punished. That night she stood in front of her bathroom mirror and stared at her own face. Her eyes were red, her hair a tangled mess, her mouth pressed into a line that could not hold back a tremor. Keller had once cupped her cheek in this very bathroom, laughing at the powder on her nose, telling her she was beautiful when she frowned at a blueprint. Now his words from the restaurant replayed in her mind, sharp and final. You were always a project. She slid down the wall and sat on the cold tile. She did not cry at first. She was too tired. Lena knocked and came in without waiting. She sat beside her and held her hand. Evelyn, she said softly. This city is chewing you up because he let it. He is feeding it. He is making sure everyone knows his version first. Evelyn stared at the floor. I loved him. She whispered. I would have given him everything. I know. Lena's voice was steady. That is why you have to stop begging for scraps from someone who threw you away. Evelyn's fingers curled around the crushed ring she had kept in her pocket like a secret wound. She pulled it out and stared at it. The bent metal seemed to accuse her, as if it were proof that her love had been foolish. Leave New York, Lena said. Go somewhere quiet, somewhere he cannot poison. You can start again. You are not done. Evelyn wanted to argue. New York was her dream. New York was the place she had built her name. But New York was also the place where she had been humiliated in public, then erased in private. She swallowed and nodded once. 2 weeks later, she sold her apartment. She packed her life into boxes. She threw away gifts Keller had given her, not because they mattered, but because she could not stand the way they still smelled like him. She kept only her design notebooks, her laptop, and the ruined ring. On the day she left, rain poured down the streets like the city was washing its hands. Evelyn did not tell anyone except Lena. She did not post. She did not look back. At Penn Station, she stood under fluorescent lights with her suitcase beside her, and a ticket to a small coastal town she had chosen, because it was far, and because no one there would care about Thorn Capital. Lena hugged her tightly. Call me when you get there. Evelyn's voice cracked. What if I cannot do this? You can, Lena said. And if he ever comes after you again, he will meet me first. Evelyn managed a thin smile. The train pulled out, wheels clattering, and the city began to slide away. Evelyn watched the skyline fade into gray, then into nothing. For the first time in weeks, she felt something like relief. Behind her in Manhattan, Keller Thorne drowned himself in meetings and numbers. He told himself he was fine. He told himself he had done what he had to do. Yet at midnight, in an empty penthouse, he stared at the untouched breakfast Evelyn used to set out for him, and the silence felt like a punishment he had earned, but did not understand. 3 years passed in the way storms pass, not in a clean line, but in waves. In the coastal town of Harbor Point, Evelyn rented a small house with peeling white paint, and a porch that faced the sea. The first month she slept poorly, waking at dawn with her heart racing, convinced she had heard Keller's voice in the next room. The second month she forced herself to walk the beach every morning, breathing in salt until it stopped feeling like grief. Work came slowly, then steadily. A couple wanted a remodel for their bait shop. An old widow needed a safer staircase. A cafe owner asked for help turning a storage room into something warm. Evelyn drew, measured, listened. She poured herself into other people's dreams, because it hurt less than touching her own. Lena called every week. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes Evelyn stayed silent and Lena filled the air anyway, stubborn enough to keep her anchored. One autumn afternoon, Evelyn carried rolled blueprints into the local clinic to drop off drawings for a waiting room renovation. She expected a receptionist, a clipboard, a quick thank you. Instead she met Dr. Elias Gray. He stepped out of an exam room with his sleeves pushed up, his hair slightly messy, and a calm that made the hallway feel quieter. He looked at the blueprints in her arms and smiled. You are Evelyn Cole, he said. Evelyn blinked. How do you know? We do not get many architects here. His voice was warm, not invasive. Also, Lena bragged about you to half the town when she visited. Evelyn's mouth lifted before she could stop it. She would. Elias held open the door to his office. If you have a minute, I would love to talk about the clinic layout. Patients get anxious. Walls matter. That was how it began. Not with fireworks. Not with a grand speech. Just with a door held open, and a man who treated her like a person, not a rumor. Elias never pushed for Keller's name. He noticed when Evelyn flinched at sudden anger, and he simply lowered his voice. He noticed when she worked too late, and he left a cup of tea on her porch without knocking. In Manhattan, Keller Thorne kept winning, and it never filled the quiet in him. Then, one late night, his assistant Marjorie knocked on his office door with a folder and a small black recorder. We found this while clearing an old cabinet, she said carefully. It was labeled Petrov, meeting, audio backup. The file date is from 3 years ago. Keller's throat tightened. Play it. Marjorie clicked a button and set the recorder on the desk. Static. Then a voice Keller recognized too well, oily and amused. Justin Petrov. Relax. Justin said on the tape. Thorne is easy. He sees betrayal everywhere because he expects it. We just have to give him something pretty to stare at. Another voice, Lower, answered. The signature is good, boss. Looks real. It has to, Justin replied. And the photos. Make sure the angle makes it look like she is leaning into me. People believe what they want to believe. There was a chuckle. Then Justin spoke again, smug and certain. Once he thinks she sold him out, he will do the rest. He will burn her for us. Then the investors will panic. Then we swoop in and take the deal. Keller's vision tunneled. The tape kept going, detail after detail, every piece of the trap laid out like a map. Fake contract, stolen data, forged signature, a planted meeting. When the recording ended, silence hit the office like a heavy door closing. Keller sat perfectly still. He could hear his own pulse in his ears. Evelyn was innocent. Marjorie said quietly, more statement than question. Keller stood so fast his chair scraped back. Find her. He ordered, voice raw. Find Evelyn Cole, now. He stayed in his office until dawn, replaying the dinner, replaying her face when he called her disgusting. I am sorry. He whispered into the empty room. I am so sorry. 3 months later, after burning through investigators and favors, Keller stared at a printed address on his desk. Harbor Point, a small dot on the coast, a place where Evelyn had learned to breathe again. Keller grabbed his keys. This time he would not let anyone else speak for her. Even if she never let him speak at all. Harbor Point smelled like seaweed and sunscreen, like fried clams and wet wood. Keller hated it the moment he arrived. Not because it was ugly. It was not. The town was calm, the water bright, the streets slow. He hated it because it looked like peace, and he had not earned peace. He parked near the boardwalk and walked with his hands clenched in his pockets, scanning faces as if the crowd owed him answers. He had memorized the address, the clinic name, the street where Evelyn's studio operated out of a renovated storefront. When he reached the studio, his steps slowed. The sign read Cole Design, simple white letters on glass. Inside, sunlight fell across a drafting table, plants hung in the window. A girl in her 20s sorted samples behind the counter. Keller pushed the door open. A small bell chimed. The girl looked up. Hi, can I help you? Keller's mouth was dry. Evelyn Cole, is she here? The girl hesitated. She is out. She is meeting a client at the pier. Keller nodded once and left before he could lose his nerve. At the pier, the ocean stretched out like a clean line. A couple of kids ran with kites. An old man fished without urgency. Keller walked to the end and stopped. Evelyn stood there with her back to him, hair loose in the wind, a sketchbook tucked under one arm. She wore a white dress that moved softly with the breeze. She looked lighter than she had in Manhattan, like the town had given her air. Beside her stood a man in a light jacket, tall, relaxed, his posture protective without being possessive. He laughed at something Evelyn said, and the sound in her smile cut Keller like glass. Keller took a step forward. Evelyn, he said. She turned. For a heartbeat she stared at him as if her mind could not accept the shape of him here. Then her face cooled, eyes flattening into something distant. Keller Thorne, she said, voice even. You are lost. His chest tightened. I have been looking for you. The man beside her shifted slightly. Evelyn. It is fine. Evelyn said without looking away from Keller. Her tone carried a warning. He is just a stranger. Stranger. Keller swallowed. I am not a stranger. You made yourself one. Evelyn's words were calm, but calm could be lethal. Keller stepped closer, stopping a respectful distance away. He forced himself to keep his voice steady. I know the truth now. Justin Petrov forged everything. I have the recording. I know you were innocent. Evelyn's expression did not change. Congratulations. Keller flinched. Evelyn, please. I was wrong. I was cruel. I do not have excuses. I only have regret. The man at her side finally spoke, polite but firm. I am Dr. Elias Gray. Evelyn is under no obligation to stand here and relieve anything. If you are here to cause harm, you should leave. Keller's jaw tightened at the name. Doctor, the way Evelyn's shoulder leaned subtly toward him. The way Elias's hand hovered near hers, ready, gentle. Keller forced himself to look away from that hand. I am not here to harm her. I am here to apologize. Evelyn let out a short breath, almost a laugh, but there was no humor in it. Do you remember what you said to me, Keller? His throat burned. Yes. You told me I was cheap. You told me you never loved me. You crushed my ring under your shoe in front of strangers, who stared at me like I was dirt. Her voice remained flat, which somehow made it worse. And then you made sure the city hated me too. Keller's eyes stung. He did not blink. I did. Evelyn stepped closer now, not to soften, but to make sure he heard every word. So tell me, why should I care that you finally found proof of what I already knew? Keller opened his mouth. Nothing came out that was worthy. Evelyn turned to Elias. We are done here. Elias nodded, fingers closing gently around hers. Keller saw Evelyn allow it, saw the trust in that tiny motion, and it felt like losing her all over again. Keller's voice broke. Evelyn, wait. I will do anything. I will leave New York. I will sell my company. I will disappear if that is what you want. Just tell me what I can do. Evelyn stopped, looking back over her shoulder. For a second her eyes showed something deep, old pain, like a scar that still ached in the rain. There is nothing you can do, she said quietly. Because the thing I needed from you was simple. She faced him fully. I needed you to believe me when it mattered. Then she walked away with Elias, her hand still in his. Keller stood at the end of the pier with the ocean in front of him, and shame behind him. The wind tasted like salt and failure. He watched her until she became a small white shape against the bright day. Only then did he whisper, to no one. I am not leaving. And that was the first selfish thing he had admitted since the tape. Because love, once turned into obsession, did not ask permission, it only demanded. Keller rented a small house at the edge of Harbor Point, the kind of place he would have mocked 3 years ago. The furniture was secondhand. The internet was slow. The neighbors waved at him like he was normal. None of it fit. He woke before sunrise and ran along the beach until his lungs burned, not for fitness, but because pain was the only thing that felt honest. Then he showered, put on a clean shirt, and walked to Evelyn's studio, with flowers in his hand like a man playing a role he had not earned. Evelyn's assistant took one look at the bouquet and sighed. Mr. Thorne, she is not going to take those. Then leave them. Keller said. The assistant shook her head. She told me to throw them away. Keller placed the flowers on the doorstep anyway. When he returned the next day, they were gone. The trash bin on the corner smelled sweet and rotten. He tried food next. Evelyn used to love lemon bars. He found a local bakery and ordered a box. He left it at her door with a note, short and careful. I am sorry. I know it is not enough. The note came back torn in half. He tried to speak to her in person. He waited outside the studio until she stepped out with her keys. Evelyn, he said. She did not slow down. Stop following me. I am not following you. I am trying to fix what I broke. You cannot. Her voice was flat. Move, Keller. He moved. The town began to notice. People whispered in the diner. A waitress stared at Keller with a mix of curiosity and disgust. Harbor Point was small. Drama traveled fast. One afternoon, a storm rolled in from the ocean and slammed the town with rain so hard the streets flooded. Keller was in the hardware store when he heard a cashier mention that Evelyn's studio roof had leaked during the last storm. He ran without thinking. By the time he reached the studio, water dripped through a crack in the ceiling into a bucket. Evelyn stood on a chair with a flashlight, jaw tight, trying to protect her blueprints. Keller climbed the back stairs to the roof, soaked within seconds. The wind tried to shove him off balance. He ripped off his jacket and pressed it over the leak, then used a tarp from a nearby shed and a roll of duct tape to hold it in place. When he finally climbed down, drenched and shaking, Evelyn stood in the doorway watching him. Her eyes moved over his wet hair, his bruised knuckles, the way his suit looked ruined. For a second Keller thought he saw something soften. Then she spoke, tired and sharp. Do not do this. Keller's voice shook. I could not let your work get destroyed. It is my work, she said. My life. You do not get to attach yourself to it now like you belong here. He swallowed hard. I want to belong. I want to earn it. Evelyn stepped closer, rainwater shining on her lashes. You want to feel better, she said quietly. That is what you want. You want me to forgive you so you can stop hating yourself. The words hit Keller in the exact place the truth lived. He stared at her. Maybe, he admitted. But I also want you. I want you back. I do not know how to live without you. Evelyn's mouth pressed into a line. You lived without me for 3 years. You built an empire while I rebuilt myself from ashes. Keller's shoulders sagged. I did not know where you were. You did not look. Her eyes were cold. Not until it hurt you. He had no defense. The next day Lena arrived in Harbor Point like a thunderclap. She walked into the studio, took one look at Keller standing outside the window, and stormed out. You have a lot of nerve. Lena snapped, pointing a finger at him. You destroyed her, you let the city chew her up, and now you show up here like a sad puppy. Keller did not flinch. You can hit me if you want. Oh, I want to, Lena said. But Evelyn does not need more mess. So here is what you will do. You will leave. Keller's voice went low. I cannot. Lena laughed harshly. Cannot, that is what you said when you would not listen. That is what you said when you chose your pride over her. Keller held her gaze. I am not asking for sympathy. I am asking for a chance. Lena's eyes narrowed. A chance is not yours to request. It is hers to give, and she does not owe you a damn thing. Keller nodded. I know. Lena looked past him, toward the studio door, where Evelyn stood watching. Lena's expression softened immediately. Eve. Lena said gently, using the nickname only she dared. Do you want me to call the sheriff? Evelyn shook her head once. No, he will leave when he gets bored. Keller felt a sting. I will not get bored. Evelyn's eyes met his. They were calm, but the calm was empty. Then you will stay miserable, she said. That is your choice, not my problem. Winter came to Harbor Point with quiet certainty. The tourists left. The boardwalk emptied. The ocean turned the color of steel. Keller stayed. He stopped bringing flowers because Evelyn's rejection had made it feel like pollution. Instead, he did small things that could not be mistaken for bribery. He shoveled snow from the studio steps before dawn. He fixed a loose railing outside the clinic without asking. He donated to the local food pantry under an anonymous name, then stood in line, with everyone else to carry boxes inside. Evelyn noticed. She did not thank him. Some nights Keller sat in his rented house and stared at his phone until his eyes blurred, fighting the urge to send her a message she would never answer. Other nights he drove to the overlook above the town and watched the lights below, wondering how a man could own so much and still feel like he had nothing. Elias watched too. He never challenged Keller with threats. He did not need to. He simply stayed close to Evelyn, steady and patient, the way a lighthouse stayed steady while ships crashed themselves against rocks. One evening, Evelyn knocked on Elias's office door after closing hours. Snow dusted her coat. Her hair was damp from the cold. I cannot sleep, she admitted. Elias stood and opened his arms without asking. Evelyn stepped into them, her forehead against his chest, and exhaled like she had been holding her breath for years. I hate that he is here, she whispered. I hate that part of me still reacts. Elias rested his hand on her back. Reaction is not forgiveness, he said softly. Evelyn swallowed. Sometimes I feel cruel. You are not cruel, Elias said. You are protecting what he tried to destroy. Outside, Keller happened to walk past the clinic, hands in his pockets, eyes lifted toward the windows. Through the glass he saw Evelyn in Elias's arms. He stopped. For a long moment he did not move. He just watched, his breath fogging the air. That night he finally did what he should have done from the beginning. He went to war with Justin Petrov. Keller returned to New York for 3 days, met with attorneys, pulled records, and forced old allies to testify. He filed lawsuits for fraud, defamation, and corporate sabotage. He sent the recording to the authorities and to the board that had once applauded Justin's charm. The story hit the headlines. Petrov empire built on lies. Audio reveals plot against Thorn Capital in Harbor Point. People read the articles over coffee and shook their heads. Some looked at Evelyn with new respect. Others looked guilty. Justin tried to deny it. Then the evidence piled up. His investors fled. His partners turned on him. The arrest came on a gray Tuesday. When the news reached Harbor Point, Keller stood outside Evelyn's studio and waited until she came out. I fixed it, he said, voice quiet. Justin is finished. Evelyn stared at him for a long moment. The wind lifted her hair. Her face did not soften. I did not need you to fix him, she said. I needed you to not break me. Keller's eyes burned. I know. Evelyn looked down at her hands. There was no ring on her finger now. She had stopped wearing the crushed one after leaving New York, but she had kept it in a box like a warning. I am getting married, she said suddenly. The words landed like a final door closing. Keller's breath caught. To him. Evelyn nodded once. For a second Keller could not see. He tasted iron on his tongue. He wanted to argue, to beg, to demand one last chance, but the truth stood in front of him, calm and absolute. Evelyn had built a life without him. He had arrived too late. Keller forced himself to speak. Are you happy? Evelyn's answer was quiet. I am safe. she said. And that is what happiness looks like now. Keller nodded slowly. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was the engagement ring, repaired as much as money could repair it. The metal was smooth again, the diamond polished, but Keller knew the history could not be erased. I brought this, he said, voice rough. Not as a request, not as a trap, just as a reminder that I remember what I did. Evelyn looked at the ring, then at Keller. Her eyes held no heat, only tired understanding. She took the box. Keller felt a strange relief, like he had handed back a piece of stolen property. Evelyn walked to the trash bin beside the studio door and dropped the box in. The soft thud was louder than it should have been. Keller closed his eyes. When he opened them, Evelyn was already turning away. Evelyn, he said, desperate again. She paused but did not face him. Do not follow me anymore, she said. Let me go. Keller's throat tightened until it hurt. If letting you go is the only thing I can do that is not selfish, he whispered. Then I will do it. Evelyn did not answer. She went inside and shut the door. Keller stood there for a long time in the cold. Then he walked to his car, drove to the highway, and left Harbor Point behind. Back in Manhattan, the skyline still glittered. The towers still rose. The city still praised ambition like it was a virtue. Keller returned to his office and sat alone behind his desk. He had money. He had power. He had a reputation rescued from scandal. But at night, when the city went quiet, he felt the echo of the pier, the wind, and Evelyn's calm voice. I am safe. He understood then that safety was something he had never offered her. And love, without trust, was only another kind of violence. Keller stared out at the lights until they blurred, and he let the regret wash over him, an endless tide. There was no way back, only forward, alone.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.